guys, this is for a change. This keynote is being done differently. Credit goes to none other than Priya. Thank you, Priya, for getting us this idea. So this is called as an interactive keynote because we are doing it virtually, and Priya is used to speaking in public and in an audience, and she thought that it would be wonderful to make it interactive. So she has entrusted me to ask some questions. By the way, we had few meetings and I was inspired, and I'm sure this session and this keynote session would inspire you, everybody, guys. Right? So, Priya, if it's okay, we know that you are basically head of operational excellence at Tieto. Would it be okay if you can quickly talk about yourself and also about Tieto's role and impact within the industry to begin with?
Absolutely. Thank you, Aditya. And first of all, thank you so much to ATAGTR 2023 conference also to make Tietoevry and give Tietoevry an opportunity to be exclusive partner. We are extremely happy with our association with ATA community. Tietoevry basically is fundamentally a community based or network ways of working culture as such. But let me tell you about Tietoevry a little bit. Because this is not being a US company, maybe not a very popular name into sometimes in the market, but however, it has a very big name into the Nordic area. So Tietoevry is a Nordic leader in software and digitalization and IT services. It has a turnaround of 3 billion euros. We have 24,000 employees in Tietoevry. Today, I'm representing one business from Tietoevry, which is called Tietoevry Care. And Tietoevry Care, as suggests, it is actually modernizing the Nordic health and social care, social sector with its modular and open and interoperable software. So it's a product business. It's a business of 250 plus million euros business. Our vision is to simplify everyday life for healthcare and welfare sector. We are a public sector business, so we have a different norms to follow in a public sector business, I tell you very frankly. But we are here with our software. What we want to achieve is we want to empower the healthcare professionals to improve the healthcare services and enhance also the social welfare. This is the company that gives us a freedom to associate ourselves with the communities like ATA which I am super impressed. By the way, I know ATA from last few years now. And it is just a pleasure to invest in a community because we really believe that who is coming inside Tietoevry, whom we would like to have, is not and not the people who are impressed by just our brand and softwares that probably India market doesn't even use. What we really want is openness into their thought process. The people who believe in learning and sharing and community building, and if they are in that, you will create best softwares or services. So if it is in your DNA, then it will happen. And that is the reason it is very important for us that we invest with communities. And it's a very vast community and, in a well-known community. So it's just a pleasure to be in association with you, Aditya, and the community.
Thank you so much. Those are very, very kind words. And we could not have any more better advocate than you, Priya. And we are really thankful. So for us to get a premier sponsor like Tieto speaks a lot of basically what we have been doing, and all thanks and naman to not only you, but everybody in Tieto. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Interestingly, guys, Priya is speaking on a very interesting topic today. It's called as, let me read it aloud for you. It's called Beyond Limits, Scaling Productivity for Business Transformation, right? So this itself actually is an amazing topic, and I would request Priya to let us know what is inspiring you to go beyond limits.
Yeah, exactly. First of all, a catchy name always, fires the interest in people. So I will give you that. But I do mean beyond limits, and I will tell you in my teaser I was mentioning this, Aditya, that we are in VUCA world, and as much people don't understand what is VUCA world. Let me give a little bit emphasis on it. Do you guys agree that we are in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. I mean, who knows it better than
Yes.
this generation who has just faced a pandemic, then a war, and then multiple wars now, even the engineering going on top of its working with Gen AI and AI. And we have been hearing AI from last 50 years probably, but now the Gen AI just makes it so simple to use AI. So we are in that world. We are in the world of volatility and uncertainty and things like that. So what happens is quality of the software, the definition cannot get limited to the bugs in the system and the performance of the system. We have to go beyond that. So we need to have a mindset that will challenge our past assumptions and experiences. That means we have to fundamentally change something, the way we build any services or product for either the customer or ourselves for the market. So we have to push our current boundaries from the obvious to face the new world. So now that I was building that context, I'll give you a very simple examples for your consideration on how we have to change. We had to go beyond limits, and we still have to go beyond limits in thinking how to build a software. So we in Tietoevry in fundamentally believes in purposeful technology. So what is a purposeful? And this is our tagline also, purposeful technology. So what is a purposeful technology? It's a technology that has a specific purpose which goes beyond just a functionality and the feature of it. So it looks at the social impact that it creates with the technology. So we believe in building the products that plays a vital role in efficiency, consistency, accuracy of the crucial public sector. Sure, our performance level is just not depending on our SLAs and metrics, and it cannot be, because one performance bug can take a life of a patient. So at that time I cannot say, oh, but we had no critical bug, and this was just a performance delay because of something, and it can actually take a life of a patient. Unfortunately, such kind of things has happened in the past, not with Tietoevry, but with many other software companies which are there in such a crucial sector. So the quality norms are not meant to pass the quality gate. The quality norms are meant to securing life. If that is the outlook that we are going to keep, then we can think about what is the quality that we are looking at. Okay, the focus on quality that I was telling is paramount in our sector, but human-centered design, for example, is very crucial, because our softwares can be used by citizens of these countries who are using the services. Now, there can be a very generations into this. And there is a generation also that uses Nokia handset today with proud, right? They don't want to use a smartphone. But then can we remain primitive in our software development, our software testing? No, we still have to be modern. But we still have to cater to all the generations. So then we have to think beyond limits for sure. We are also always talking about, continuously innovate, or we need to learn continuously. And I really feel that when somebody tells me that, this is our skill metrics, and here is our L&D department, and this is what we are going to do, upgrading ourselves, I challenge it. I seriously challenge it, that either learning is your lifestyle, or you cannot just give targets to people saying, hey, you have to finish 40 hours of learning in a year, kind of stuff. So you don't measure such kind of things that will set a different tone for your organization. So this is also one of the things that we have to, and probably if I'll get a chance today, I will definitely talk about it. But then ATA GTR, for example, and I'm going to give this is a real example, and don't feel bad at all. I'm a very blunt person who is very famous to be very transparent about the things. But I do want to challenge this, and this has happened in my workplace. When we were talking about sponsoring ATA GTR, and we were as usual, we are very collaborative in nature, so we were taking opinions of the people. There was this opinion has come up. Should we really want to associate ourselves with ATA GTR, because this is a testing alliance? And I looked at it completely in a shocked manner. But then I realized that our definition of we building a product doesn't have testing alliance partnership in it, and that itself is a problem, because it's a fundamental problem that the developers on the ground thinks testing is somebody else's job. And that's my biggest problem in building the products, frankly speaking. So when I actually talked about it, I said, what happens if that happens? So he's saying, yes, but we are not a testing organization. I said, really? So we take our products and without tasting, take it out, really? I mean, at my place, developers first test, then there is a product expert who tests, then there is a domain expert who tests, then the product manager who tests, then there is a user group who tests, and you say that this is not a testing organization. So what is the testing organization, quotes and quotes? And this is the mentality problem. We have a basic mentality problem that we put organizations into sectors and code them in that way, saying, oh, if you are in that, then you are not doing certain other things, and that's not true. And that has to be challenged all the time, and that is why one needs to go beyond limits. For example, the job rotations that people do in the organization, and I'll give you Tietoevry, for example, why we had to change it from foundation is usually, developers or coders, I will say. I will not call them developers, because when you develop a product, you also test the product. It is not a coder. So a coder always thinks that my next step is principal engineer or architect or manager. If I'm not good at anything else, then I will be a manager. And I think that itself needs to be challenged. Why do you think a coder has only a job rotation in these sectors? Why can't it be into another function? Why don't you take a job rotation from development to support to, I have done that probably in 2000, and I'm coming from an old school. I agree with that. But at that time, we did not know the difference between coding and testing and designing, because we had to wear different hats and actually do it. And one time we have seen, I still remember, somewhere around 900, I was working for Avaya at that time, and a great company. We had to actually switch. I had to switch a job and go from development into the support and be there for 2 years to really understand how our users uses our product. And unless you know that, you will not be able to develop a product that is meant to be serving somebody in the market. Another aspect that probably will be new for certain community members over here, but which is very typical in Europe area, and some people are joining from Europe, so they will understand. Especially in the Nordic region, I also have to see I have the responsibility of sustainability. So we need to evaluate ourselves on the environmental impact of our technology creates. And this is not a gimmick, guys. This is the real stuff that I'm talking about, which means that our engineers have to get aware what green code practices are, which means you need to know fundamentally how resource optimization needs to be done, how you do optimize code efficiency. That needs to be in your learning. Unless that is in your learning, you will not be able to contribute to the code that is going to consume a lot of energy in the future, where your next generation is going to live in the mask forever. So that is the responsibility that we do have. Now, when I was telling a VUCA world, I was also talking about the wars, and everybody knows the Ukraine-Russia war, which is going on. And now that puts a lot of threats on also cybersecurity all over the world. Cybersecurity, privacy, we have to see that in the new light. Our products needs to do a shift left approach. So security cannot be the fifth layer of testing. It needs to be a design thinking. It needs to be as a design that you are putting into the product. Now, are our developers really well aware of how to do it? No. But is it a practice that one cannot teach? Definitely. But you have to go beyond limits. You have to practice the community learning in a very different way. If I get a chance, actually, I will talk about it, how we do it. But I just wanted to touch upon the some of the topics that you were asking, Aditya. Why beyond limits? These are few examples that we have to go beyond limits. I will also say the technological. The last piece is the technological. In this VUCA world, the one of the great thing is also happening, which is that there are continuous and rapid technology advancements which are happening. So there is a Gen AI and AI implementations are buzzing right now, and everybody wants to be there. But we also have to be learning what responsible AI is. So, which means we have to be aware of ethical considerations that we do. We cannot just go gungo, but that doesn't mean we should not go the AI side. It has to be a balance. It has to be a consideration in your thinking of the product that needs to come, that takes care of privacy and security, that takes care of the transparency, that looks at the ethical consideration, and so on and so forth. I still remember when the COVID actually hit, we had to develop the COVID related feature in just 15 days with the co-creation with the customer. And at that time, our purpose was saving lives. Not a single developer was talking about, oh, but this doesn't have a testing environment ready. It doesn't have, this those kind of a parameters ready. Everybody was rapidly changing. You know why? Because that time for us, what was important is saving each life around us, because we were losing lives around us. So whichever life we can save, we were giving our best to save that. And such kind of a VUCA world gives us a reality check. Sometimes while developing products, we forget that we are not, of course we are here to do business, of course we are here to earn money, of course we are here to get a personal appraisals and salary hikes, of course that's fundamental. But there is a purpose for the product, and we must not forget what that purpose is. And that's why I say we have to go beyond limits, because productivity is just not doing more stuff. Productivity means doing something less to do something more. So as long as we understand that we are challenging our own thought process, then we go beyond limits.
Amazing.
A long one, but if you give me the stage, then I will just
No,
go
this is what inspires us, guys. I had few chats, and this is what we thought would be very interesting. Rather than a slideshow, it would be very nice. So, look, I have few questions that I could actually jot down now while Priya was talking about why beyond limits and what is actually beyond limits in our thoughts and for business transformation and all those things. I would also request you to jot down your questions and put it in the chat, and then Deepti can take it in the last 15 minutes. So, but if it's okay, if I can ask you questions, Priya, because that's what I've been interested to do that. So,
if I can do a justice, yes, please.
yes. So there are so many things that you talked about. You talked about processes, you talked about people, you talked about productivity, and you talked about so many things, including security. The first thing that I'm going to ask you is like, guys, just to reiterate, Tietoevry is 3 billion euro company, right, Priya? Is that the number
Yes,
correct?
correct.
And you are basically heading healthcare or the care division of Tieto, which is basically around 250 million euros, right?
Yeah, I'm not heading the business. I am heading the operation
With
excellence.
operation excellence. Look,
Yes.
guys, so operation excellence comes with that tag as well.
Yes.
So my first question is that when you talk about such a large organization, very reputed one, how do you really, when we're talking about beyond limit, how do you still maintain agility in such a large organization, right? And then we will talk about process efficiencies. We're going to talk about other things as well. So, but first thing that occurs to my mind is that as operations head, as a business process efficiency head, for such a large conglomerate? Like, don't you think that organization, when they become large, they can become elephants, and it is very difficult
Yeah.
for you guys to move them out?
Very, very true. Very, very true. And you're absolutely right. Actually, Tietoevry, after the merger of Tieto and Every, we became 24,000 employee company. So it's an elephant. It was a very, very large company. Um, there are advantages of the large company, and there are a lot of disadvantages also. And one of the things that we have to understand in today's world is nimbleness. You have to be very agile. You have to have an agile by design. So even Tietoevry had to take a decision on how they will drive the agility is basically in 2021 October timeframe. We ask ourselves a question, and this is a little dramatic that I'm making, but we really truly ask ourselves a question: are we going to known for 50-year-old company, or are we going to known in market for 50-year young company? And that's what our question was. And we wanted to know for 50-year experienced young company. And just by calling ourselves young, we don't become young. Okay. So that's the reason we had to have a fundamental strategy change in our organization, that where Tietoevry has divided itself into end-to-end businesses, the 5 end-to-end businesses. And with that, what we were hoping to have, and we are actually seeing that happening, is with this strategical move, we wanted to enjoy the solid corporate backbone that we have, but also drive our strategy for our future, and we making a decision how we can invest to expand. So we taking the responsibility, we have the autonomy of where to invest to expand, and actually give a boost to our set of products, which was in my case, it was a care, which is a healthcare and social care sector. So agile is not just into the product development. Agility has to be also the way you form a business. So because of that business, now our strategies gets discussed on every quarter basis, and it's not a it doesn't take a lot of time from percolating up to down and bottom to up, because it becomes a nimble organization. It still has a 250 million fate, and we aim to go much higher, and looking at a hockey stick growth. And the hockey stick growth will only come when you do less and slow down a little bit and then boost up, because it requires you to develop your agile mindset. It requires a time to do your empowerment, decentralization. It also requires the flexibility in the processes and structure. If you have a very heavy organization, then I'm not saying that that's a bad organization. It's just that it takes that much time for you to make a decision and work on the decision, because there are multiple approval processes and things like that. But in such small sector, you have to continuously experiment, and you have to continuously experiment and fail. Continuously experiment and fail. You should know which products will make it in the market and which one will not. But for that, you have to do rapid prototyping, go to the customer, put it over there, get it to work, and then rapidly move ahead. There are certain things which will float, and there are certain things which will sink. And I think that's the best thing happening, because early you know that it is going to sink, then you know either you're not ready or the market is not ready. It's best for you to take the decision and just move on, because that's probably not the time for you to launch that. So I will say that's the way we have done it in the Tietoevry as a large organization. And we are very thankful that this really requires a leadership commitment, frankly, because many people ask me question, Aditya, in many conferences, especially developer community. Priya, how it will happen that we have the agile mindset, but our leaders don't know what the agile is? And I frankly tell them, if that is not there, you should look for another organization, frankly speaking, because change is something that you can only influence till one level. You can give more information, but you cannot make people wiser into it. If you are thinking just because you're sharing something, your norms will change. Typically in leadership, this particular thing happens, and I laugh on this. uh, what measure is what you get. If you start measuring the wrong things, you are going to get the wrong things. So you can't expect that you're measuring something and that will have no impact on your root level. It will not happen. So it needs to be in sync with what we are saying and what we are doing. So that's also a fundamental change that you have to do. You cannot measure and then expect some other results.
Yeah. Good. So, guys, look, there's so many things that I could note down in this one. One is obviously um, Priya is able to run or basically make changes fast because obviously the leadership support and the community support also fail fast. So that is one of the agile principles. And when we have so many products, Priya, and you want to go beyond limit in these products, process is also one area which actually has to be thought about, right? And since we're talking about beyond limits today, what has been your key success recipe to go beyond limits for the process efficiencies? How do you optimize processes across different areas? You are spread across so many areas. You said that you
Yes.
are managing, yeah, so many things.
Yes,
So
yes. It is not only me, my colleagues also managing the things. It should not look like it's me who is owning it. It's actually speaking, so many of my very esteemed colleagues and my teams are actually working in it. I really want to see in agile environment, it's not just to say that you have to drop your titles. It's actually you have to do and drop your titles, because many a times you have to take a back seat and learn from the ground a lot more than you understand. But it's an interesting question that you asked me. When somebody says, okay, what is the secret recipe or a key recipe for this kind of success? I will ask you a question, or the community a question. Have you seen a Kung Fu Panda movie? If
yes,
you have seen a Kung Fu Panda movie, the same secret recipe we have, and
very
that is
nice.
called nothing. If you have seen, when he opens
Yes,
the scroll and he says, what is the recipe, and the recipe is nothing, right?
yes,
And that's a secret of nothing. I really mean it. There is nothing called um, out of the world approach that has come. It is not that. It's not a secret. What requires is intentional use of technology and process. I mean it. Intentional use of technology and process. If you are thinking technology, if I am buying this technology, if I'm developing this technology, if I'm applying this technology, it will have its own positive impact. Wrong. If you will have this kind of a process, oh, I have a process of waste management, I have Kanban board, I have this, I have that. Even if you have those tools, instructions, everything, if you don't have an intention to use it in a particular way, it will not give you the result. It's very simple. It requires a multifaceted approach. So of course, if I have to write a key recipe, I'll say embracing a culture of innovation, data driven decision making, commitment to continuous improvement. Sure, but not in the PPT, on the grassroots level. On the grassroots level, which means you have to give a lot of freedom on the field to be able to get this done. So let me give you certain examples. Okay, as I was giving an example before, also we had to challenge many roles. Like for example, in my organization, don't take this wrong, but in my organization, there is nothing called a QA organization. No, there is no, everybody is called development manager. All the organization is called developers. And they are not just called developers. It is the expectation. And expectation is, now I don't think developers means you code. No, developers means you code and you test. Developer means you are a domain expert who are defining the scenario, defining the requirement in such a way that it is translatable to the people. That is development. That means you design and then you code. That means you code and you automate. If you are having that approach, then you are a developer in the organization. So this required a lot of change, by the way. It's very easier said than done. When the humongous problem in our recruitments, whenever we used to take people in the recruitment, I used to go for an interview myself. My manager goes for an interview, and when we are asking all this technical jargons and everything is done, and at that time we stopped actually asking people write this sample code or something. When there is a whole world is changing to there was a Stack Overflow before, there was a Google before, and now there is a GitHub Copilot. Why are you asking your developers to write a program? Instead, you ask them how to read the program. Instead, you ask them how to test the program. You ask them how to look at the loopholes in the program. And another thing that we have faced is when I ask any question of such kind to a developer, he says, "Excuse me, ma'am, I think you are mistaken. I have come over here for a developer position." I said, "Exactly. And you are a developer. That means you should know how to test your own code." Oh, but are there not testers? Are you trying to be different? No, we are not trying to be different. We are just trying to be ourselves, because we have to understand that we cannot give a function responsibility to the people and then let them not grow in any other things. And then it becomes a psychological safety issue for every function. Saying, am I safe in a manual testing? Am I safe into this? No. You have to understand that we are building either the products for the customer, or we are building products for ourselves out of market or wherever. Whatever you are doing, you need to understand that how you want to operate in today's world. So when you are looking at that new roles and new positions, please remember, you should be able to take any job or any role and switch it. And it is possible. I'm very, very proud that it is possible in our organization to take different roles. It is because we require different perspectives. Diversity for us is not just age diversity and gender diversity. Diversity for me is also how a developer will think when that developer becomes, or a coder becomes a automation tester. The perspective will be very different, and that's a perspective that we want. Everybody knows about DevOps way of working, emphasizes on shared responsibility, continuous improvement. And still, when I ask a question to people on DevOps, they ultimately boil down to DevOps tooling, DevOps frameworks, etc., etc. And at most, people will say, "Oh, you should have a DevOps mindset." And if I explain, just explain me, what is a DevOps mindset? What is that you will do differently? And they are unable to tell. The reason is because they have never done it. You cannot just read this on the internet and give the interview. You have to live with it. You have to experience it. And that is very, very important. I was also mentioning this dashboards. Dashboards are not for managements in this age, please. I mean, the age is changing very differently, but dashboards are not for managements. They are really for teams to look at. So what you measure is what you get. So just measure. That really matters. So, for example, cycle time, throughput are very important, important than the efforts that you put. So as leaders, you have to be coach. You have to educate. You have to empower your teams and not interfere with the process, because you are not a developer yourself right now. You are a coach who needs to ask intelligent questions. So they can do identification of a waste very easily. Just teach them that waste management is crucial and how to identify waste. Let them experience. I really feel in my early life, I was very impressed with popcorn flow. If anybody knows what is popcorn flow, which is Claudia Perno. I'm sorry if I'm taking the name wrong, but it's a popcorn flow. And a popcorn flow fundamentally talks about how do you take a problem statement in the team and how a scrum master looks at that problem statement and and instigate and provoke the thought process in the team, and ask the team, hey, our deployment frequency is going to be this is going to be a problem. There is no manager who comes over then asks, oh, this is what happened. No, how we are supposed to do this differently. And then they do series of experiments, and they fail in 80 experiments and they succeed in 20 experiments. And when I talk about such thing, a typical thing that comes is, we don't have a time. And my thinking is, exactly, this is where you need to have a time. Because when you have a time, this is called doing more with less. If you will not, otherwise the cost of doing a regression testing, and then cost of taking customer found defects, and then doing the performance lab and that is very costly. What is not costly is experimentation. That's not costly. So don't look at today's velocity and give up on tomorrow's productivity, because productivity is not developers productivity or testers productivity. Productivity is your company's productivity to face and challenge the challenge of the market. So we have to change that, and if you change the perspective, then probably you will be succeed. I have answered this question so passionately is because most of the people knows how to do process efficiencies. What they do not know is how business process efficiencies needs to be done to take out the best out of it. So we also have to many times talk about not just product development, but everything from sales process till the deployment, because everything is your deal. But at the same time, we are focusing on something very specific. Understood. But yeah, that's a long answer.
Yeah, no, very exciting. I would say, like, look, we are basically now 15, 20 minutes away from our designated time, Priya. And obviously, there are so many questions that I wanted to ask, but there are a few more that are coming in audience. So, how do you want to do that? Do you want to basically give time to the audience now? Because I think you have
Absolutely.
touched upon a lot many things.
Absolutely.
You have touched about
Yes.
technology, you have talked
Yes.
about Copilot, you talked about Gen AI, you have
Yes.
talked about continuous improvement. But there are a few questions which I would be happy if we can let the audience
Absolutely.
basically
Absolutely.
take them.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's been amazing. I wish we had accounted for around 2 hours. This is so interesting, Priya. So
That's a very nice and very humble way to say, Priya, you talk a lot.
no,
But
no, you can
we
actually,
have to laugh
we will do
aloud.
a vote. We will do a vote here and let people comment on that. It's not me, but I am excited. I'm saying that this is one of the best keynotes that we have had in the past, and interacting so much, and you're giving freedom for people to ask. So Deepti, can we have a few questions that people have
Yes,
posted and we can ask?
yes.
Yeah.
We have quite a few questions, Priya, but I'll just go in the relevance in what you were talking to continue the continuity. What is the key role of the developer to perform unit testing? But as usual, they send build in QA environment without doing unit testing, and that becomes a point becomes debatable. This is a QA job. What is your view on this?
Okay. As I'm going to take a very hard, there's nothing called a QA job either, and there is nothing called a developer. There is nothing called a coder job. It's a product building. And I'm not being philosophical here. I'm really being practical over here. And I'll give you, I think this is the last time this question will be coming in any conference, that I assure you, because GitHub Copilot, for example, or such kind of generative AI tools, people are already started using. What used to happen is you are, many a times, I don't know what is the condition that this particular person who has asked the question is coming, but what I've typically seen is developers avoid doing unit testing because they feel that somebody is asking them a solution that is very quick. Okay, and I completely understand that thing. I'm not justifying their call, but unit testing for me is a hygiene factor. Okay, my skin can take out the dead cells every day. I still exfoliate, right? I still do scrubbing of the skin, right? Why? It is because there is the external environment that is playing on my skin that my skin was not used to. So I have to exfoliate. It's exactly like that. Unit testing is a hygiene factor. And a developer, if you call yourself a developer, why would you like to take give your masterpiece in a completely distorted form to somebody else who has to do basic job is to test your code? If a QA is testing your code, they are your assistant, they are not QAs. So I will tell you, I have done this in my workplace. I've done it. I've actually told the developers, if you want a manual tester working with you and actually finding out the quality in the code, I have no problems dividing your salary and giving you interns as helpers. Not at all. You just give your salary also and share. This is your personal assistant that you are bringing to the workplace. Otherwise, you do it yourself. However, now in the GitHub Copilot age, and I'm not sorry if I'm not promoting Microsoft or something. So if people are sensitive about it, don't go for it. I'm using GitHub Copilot. My organization is using GitHub Copilot. So I am just giving that example, that in such Gen AI tools, it's extremely simple to create a unit test within no time at all, frankly. And it is only going to grow. So what is going to be interesting, I will tell you, the person who has asked the question, that you all should be thinking how our roles are going to evolve, how developers will not be paid for their coding logic, how they will be paid for actually understanding how this complex piece has to be simplified to be able to go where you want to go, right? How it needs to be different now. So there is a lot of thinking job that you have to do, because most of the coding job, your artificial intelligence is taking care even today. So I think that is changing. So we have to really, and I'm really telling you, 3 days is a conference, I'm marking this, I'm really telling you that we all have to look at what will be the definition of new roles would be in upcoming 3 to 4 years, because you are not going to do the recruitment the same way. You will require, many people say you will require less people, and I will say, no, you're not going to require less people. You are going to build a lot more than you used to build before. So that rapid change is going to require a rapid thinking process. And I am not kidding you. Please start reading today. Many people today also have no idea, and we are still dealing with very fundamental things like what should we do, how the manual testers will be automation testers, and how automation testers will be developers. And I'm thinking, like, that's not even the question right now. Okay, so that's my, again, a long answer for your question, but I wanted you to come out of that rabbit hole, whoever is asking that question, because you know what, that is going to be a history. Unit test code is just going to be a piece of cakewalk now. So the real thinking should be, should developers think before they develop? Yes.
Yeah,
Develop.
very nice.
Yes.
Right, amazing, Priya. I think there are a few more, like a lot of people are commenting. This is one of the best keynotes, not only me, and probably we should have more sessions from you. But one question that I would like to ask you, that has come from Josle, and he says, excellent and thought-provoking pointers, Priya. How can companies strike the right balance between the pace of innovation and building ethical and sustainable software? Since you talked about that area, so if you can touch upon that, and then maybe if we have time, we can take a few more questions.
Yeah, very true. Very good question. And I will answer that question in a little more systematic way, and how I do it, because I don't know if others are doing it. So please feel free, if anybody else has a solution, I would love to hear it. So when you look at the scalability and sustainability in the same paradigm, in the same perspective, you have to design to be scalable, but you also have to design to be sustainable. Okay, so we rely on a lot called product engineering maturity assessment. And what is product engineering maturity assessment is nothing but DORA ways of doing the thing. Okay, where we are looking at a deployment frequency, lead time to changes, change failure rate, time to restore services, all of that. But at the same time, you're also looking at cultural capabilities, you're looking at process capabilities, you're looking at technical capabilities, and you're looking at sustainability as a capability, right? And that is what I rely on. So I will give you a very quick answer. I do, my department actually is into doing the product maturity assessment and giving a score to a product, whether the product is going to be how it is developing and what's the DevOps research assessment of this product is. So I would definitely ask everybody to read Accelerate book. It's a very good book, but also along with that, the additional version that they have on sustainability. I can actually talk about this for another hour, but probably some other day. I wanted to give you direct answer on what we do. If you have a better ways of doing it, do let me know.
All right. Thank you so much, Priya. There's one more which is related to, since you talked about GitHub Copilot and AI and machine learning, there is one which I think is relevant with that area where Vivek Patle, he's saying, with the rise of technologies like AI and machine learning, how do you see these testing methodologies evolving to accommodate these advancements? So not only, like, for example, AI is being used for co-piloting, right? And where can these Gen AI techniques be used in other areas, including testing? That's what probably Vivek needs to answer that, yes.
No, I will answer that question in a couple of different ways, and this is the experimentation we are also doing. A typical problem that I was telling you, that our softwares, our customer base is actually that citizens of Nordic countries, which is a European area, Scandinavian area. And such kind of companies, and even companies like US, Australia, which are there, and they have their offshoring centers or their fundamental product development centers in India. India has a very great advantage with Gen AI, frankly. So the biggest problem that we have, and even Dora talks about it, is test data management. And test data management is a very, very important thing. Okay. And now what we suffer in India usually is we can get an anonymized data, but we will not get a real fake data. And in a real fake data, there are now lots of folks with Gen AI that you can actually go for real fake data, and how you can have your own testing labs over here to actually do the job, which will not come under GDPR review or a privacy review, and still you will be able to do the testing in a real way. I don't mean that you're not doing in a real way. What I meant is, listen, guys, we all know that what we do testing in India and how it actually operates on the customer level is two different things. Okay. And that happens because we have a lot of difference between a production environment or the customer production environment and your environment. And I think that gap is going to diminish with Gen AI insertion in it. Another insertion in a testing area is also, by the way, whether it is a co-pilot, of course, you know that it is going to help you with automation scripting, also the way it is going to help you with the coding. What is important is what is going to come into this space, and what is going to come into this space is going to, we are doing little experimentation, so I don't want to talk about that a lot, but in that experimentation, soon there will be a testable code, an outcome that will be a outcome of a chatbot from it. So that's also the space that needs to be explored. Another thing that you can also do is, with whether it is a developer or tester, the major time consuming things for any developer or tester, and especially tester is humongous documentation, and you really don't know what to seek where. So the best thing you can do in your organization is SIGBot kind of a chatbots, that can actually, you can create LLMs on your documentation. You can have your own AI chatbot that you can train. And by the way, it's very simple. You don't have to really do a lot of AI in it. And you will have the natural language query on it. And so much time is just saved because you're just asking and it is giving you the answer of it. So your own chat GPT within. And I'm not saying that for this you have to do a lot of investment, guys. Seriously, it's an experimentation probably every organization must be doing. But if you're not doing it, you must do it. Right now is the great time to get your hands on and create your own all the documentation into one box, and which will give you a extremely NLP intelligent search facility, and that will save your developers and testers time immensely, so that your tester can think better things than just searching for the information. So those are the things I will say.
Very nice.
Simple
I
things,
think,
but will go a long way.
yeah, great. Thank you so much. In fact, you touched upon so many things. I think a lot of people can learn on how to use AI into testing, and obviously going through the documentation is one of them. Maybe in the interest of time, Priya and Deepti, if it's okay, can we ask the one last question, if you allow Deepti to Priya,
Yes,
if
yes.
that's okay? So obviously you talked about so many things, and Kushan Amrasri, he's also a speaker. Obviously, we know the answer, but he's still asking the question: can Chat GPT and Bard replace QA?
Nothing. Okay.
I know the answer, but
Okay.
yes,
I will
yeah.
answer this question. Replace QA. Quality assurance. Can it replace quality assurance? No. Quality assurance cannot be replaced. But will it change the role of the people who do quality assurance? Yes, it will change. But that will not just change for quality assurance. It will also change for developers. It will change for leaders. And as a final note, I do want to talk about this because very less we talk about scaling productivity at every level. A very basic element of is leadership. Please develop yourself. I'm talking to all the leaders and leader to be leaders, or whoever calls themselves our leaders, because everybody is a leader. You don't have to have a management corporate level for that. But you must think now that thinking is going to be primary job of yours. So if you cannot ask good questions, if you have not learned how to ask a good question, unlikely that somebody will be only coming and hiring you for your knowledge, because knowledge is now available very quickly. Wisdom is not available, and the wisdom comes with an experience. Okay, and I'm not saying years of experience, just failure experiences. Okay, and that AI has to go a long way to learn it. I am not an AI expert, but I will still say I'm a very big enthusiast in it, and I am only positive. I am absolutely not negative about this. I feel wonderful. We will now do different jobs than just doing meetings and searching and meetings and searching and solving and searching. It's better to do thinking than because for everything else there is a AI. So that's what I will
Yeah,
say.
that's
Yeah.
amazing. In fact, and Padmaja, she has pointed out rightly that you have made it a very excellent conclusion here, Priya. Thank you so much for making it with us, and thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for sharing your experiences, which no AI can. And that kind of experience and that kind of going beyond limits and making that transformation on what you touched upon, I don't think any slides can teach us anything that you basically
You're just
can.
making me feel very good
No, no,
about
no, no, no.
myself.
Okay, bye,
It's going to be a
guys.
great
You have to
Saturday.
basically now put in a comment if you really like this. I was mesmerized. I think that it's gone beyond time right now. Otherwise, we could have gone beyond limits as well. But I would like to thank from everybody's behalf. And guys, can we have a round of applause for Priya for
Thank
making
you.
this wonderful beginning for and the wonderful opening keynote session for us.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so much.
much for giving me opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Priya.
Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot. Yeah.
Thank you.